How comfortable are you with your business finances? How comfortable are you talking about money? Well, money has a story too, which I talk about with my guest, Melissa Houston, on this episode of the Speaking Your Brand podcast. More and more women are making an impact by starting businesses, running for office, and speaking up for what matters. With my background as a TV political analyst, entrepreneur, and speaker, I interview and coach purpose-driven women to shape their brands, grow their companies, and become recognized as influencers in their field. This is Speaking Your Brand, your place to learn how to persuasively communicate your message to your audience. Hi there, and welcome to the Speaking Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Carol Cox. As you know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I talk a lot about storytelling and the importance of integrating stories into your presentations and your talks. Whether you're doing presentations for lead generation for your business, or you're delivering a keynote or a TEDx talk. Well, money has a story too, and understanding your business finances, not only the nuts and bolts, but also perhaps some of the subconscious beliefs and mindset you have around money and finances can impact you and your business. So I decided to bring on our client, Melissa Houston, who's a CPA and works with women entrepreneurs and business owners around their finances. So she can talk about what it means to have a money story and how much that can impact our relationship to money and to our business, including our sales and our profits. Melissa is a CPA and a financial strategist for CEOs. In addition to that work that she does, she's also the host of her own podcast called The Business Society, and she's a columnist at Forbes.com. Melissa and I talk about the number one challenge she sees with the women she works with when it comes to their finances, what it means to have a money story and how that can impact our relationship to our business, the difference between using money to spend versus to invest, and along with that, what it means to build wealth. And then Melissa and I dig into why she decided she wants to be a speaker. Melissa is a fantastic writer that is definitely in her comfort zone. So she shares why she decided she really wants to step out as a public speaker, and then why she decided to join our Thought Leader Academy and the surprising results that she got out of that. Our Thought Leader Academy is open for enrollment. If you also want to develop your speaking skills and create your signature talk and your thought leadership platform, this is the program for you. We work with you in our live group Zoom calls as well as in our one-on-one coaching calls so that you have all of the support and the feedback and the input that you need to transform yourself into the speaker and the thought leader that we know you can be. You can get all the details and you can submit your application by going to speakingyourbrand.com/academy. That's speakingyourbrand.com/academy. Now, let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Speaking Your Brand podcast, Melissa.
Hey, Carol. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited.
I am too. We've gotten to know each other over the past few months because you have been going through our Thought Leader Academy so that you can start positioning yourself as a public speaker, which I am excited for you to put yourself out there, and especially your message and your story. I think it's so important for more women in particular, and women business owners to understand their finances, which is what we're going to talk today a little bit about and have you share some of the lessons that you've learned and that you share with your clients. And then we'll also delve into how you see yourself developing as a speaker in the future and what you got out of the Thought Leader Academy. Before we go into all of that, Melissa, though, share with us what you do in your business and who you help.
As you mentioned, my name is Melissa Houston. So I am a CPA, which is a chartered professional accountant, and I consider myself a financial strategist for CEOs. And what that means is I help entrepreneurs understand how to optimize the profit in their business and manage the money in their business so that they keep more money for themselves in their pocket and increase their net worth.
And as you have women come to you to work with you, what are the main challenges that they're facing regarding their finances?
You know, I find for the most part, it is money mindset issues, right? Everybody has a money story, and entrepreneurs are no different, right? We carry these money stories typically from very, early childhood memories. And especially with women entrepreneurs, I find that there's a money story around the greed of having money, or they feel it will make them a bad person, or people may look at them like they're a bad person, or they only want to make just as much as they need to get by in life. And I'm really challenged women to think bigger in life, right? Because there's a lot of good that can be done with money. Money is not a bad thing. Having more money brings opportunity. It does not bring happiness, but it brings opportunity, right? So why not take advantage of that for yourselves? And being a business owner, your biggest financial asset can be your business, and you have the ability to generate wealth through your business. So I really help business owners understand how to do that.
Okay, so we're going to dive into this idea of wealth building, because I know that's something that you are very passionate about and what you talk about in your new signature talk. Before we get there, though, let's talk a little bit about what it means to have a money story. Some listeners may be familiar with that. Maybe they have read some books or materials or heard other people talk about what it means to have a money story. But can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I know as entrepreneurs, especially in the online space, we hear a lot about mindset, right? And having, a really good mindset to be a business owner. But when you think about money mindset, a lot of people overlook this and they don't really think about it because we have ingrained money stories that, we have had since childhood that I've mentioned, but we carry them and we don't realize that we have them, right? So it can negatively adverse, how you're operating as a business owner. If you've got money stories that are holding you back as a business owner and keeping you from being the best business owner that you can possibly be and generate that revenue, it's really important to kick those stories to the curb, right? So your money mindset is something that you need to check in with on a regular basis, because it's like anything else. It's always, you may feel great one day and then the next day it's a completely different story. So there's a lot of money mindset issues that can hold you back. I know for me, myself, when I started my business, my first career was in social work. My second career is in accounting. I had issues about asking people for the sale, having issues about saying, okay, I charge X amount of dollars, would you please pay up type of thing, right? But thankfully, I realized that, something was going on and I needed to address this money mindset issue, very quickly. And I got the help that I needed to address that. So it's really important because it was holding me back in my business. It was holding me back from making those sales that I needed to reinvest into my business and grow my business.
That's a great example, Melissa. So it sounds like if, for those listening, if they're feeling like they're stuck somewhere in their business, or maybe they've hit a plateau revenue-wise, sales-wise, profit-wise, there could be something strategic, right? Marketing strategy, sales strategy, but it sounds like there could be something much deeper underneath the surface that they may not even be conscious for them yet, subconsciously, that they're doing, that they may not recognize that's impacting their sales.
Exactly. And everybody has a unique story. It's very rare. It's probably not likely that two stories are going to be identical, right? So we all have experiences that we've been exposed to throughout our life that sort of, tell us how our relationship with money should be, rather than having a positive relationship with money.
You're right. And so many societal messages are about, like you said, money is, having money is greedy, or you're a bad person if you're rich, or you're going to stomp on the people underneath you if you make a lot of money. And we see these in movies and, all these different things in our culture. And I think also as women, a lot of times we get those messages even more so than men do, because kind of men are expected to be ambitious and aggressive and, like the Wall Street kind of trader type of person, but we don't really have the equivalent type of person as a woman.
Exactly. It's so true. And, women often feel very intimidated, uncomfortable when they're dealing with their money, right? So I really try to help women step out of that and gain that financial confidence, especially as a business owner, so that they can navigate their financial future.
Yeah. So let's go to this idea of wealth building, Melissa. So what is the difference between just like the income or salaries that we may get, whether it's from an employer or from our own business, and wealth?
I love this question. It's such a good question because, I often say, it's not your salary that makes you rich. It's how you manage your money. So the number one secret that wealthy people know and practice is that they don't spend their money. They invest their money. And that's key, right? So when you invest your money, you're typically investing it in financial instruments such as stocks, bonds, some sort of savings. You could do rental properties. You could do, there's many, many ways you can invest your money, right? And the idea is that you are preserving the capital, like preserving the amount of money that you're investing. So say, for example, you've got $100,000 that you want to invest. And if you invest it in stocks and bonds, you're preserving that $100,000 if you've invested it correctly. And you're making money off the capital. So you get paid, dividend bonuses, interest income, stuff like that. And this is the money that you can use. You can either grow your wealth and reinvest it into more investments, or if you're at a stage where you're comfortable and you're happy living off the interest income or the passive income they like to call it, then that's when you start enjoying the passive income coming in, right? It's okay to spend the passive as long as you're preserving the capital.
So I think, and maybe this is a way to relate this for thinking about like the present day. So, money that we invest now that we can, use the dividends or interest to do other things with. But then I think about retirement. And I know I've heard since I was a teenager on that whatever set amount of money, you need for retirement, it's not that you're like taking that money necessarily. The capital is that the idea is that you have enough that's earning interest at a certain rate so that you're living off of the interest every year. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can totally practice this with retirement, or you can practice it currently. I mean, retirement goals and living wealthy are kind of two different topics, but essentially the same thing and the same strategy.
So then, Melissa, when you work with the small business owners, the entrepreneurs who come to you, is it that they're earning good revenue and maybe a decent profit, and they just have money sitting in checking and savings accounts, and they are not really doing what they need to be doing with it as far as investments are concerned?
Well, when I'm working with entrepreneurs, I see all different types of stages that they're at. But typically people come to me when they're like, okay, I am earning money now and I have no idea how to manage it in my business. I need to have a growth plan, a growth strategy in place. I have no idea how to create that. Like we talked about, there's a lot of intimidation around money, right? So when people start working with me, a lot of the things I see is they feel a lot of fear about looking at their money. They don't understand if they're profitable in their business or not. They don't understand if their expenses are exceeding the money coming in, or if they do have cash balances, you're right, they don't know what to do with them. So it's an entire, spectrum of different types of clients that I deal with, but the goal is always to manage the money in the business so that you are optimizing the profit in your business so that you can reinvest and grow. And if you get to the spot where you're happy with the growth, you're happy where you are in your business, then you start working on your investments and securing your retirement and protecting yourself financially.
And Melissa, I know that as we work together on your signature talk, this idea came around, and in addition to all of us having money stories and obviously needing to understand kind of the nuts and bolts of accounting and what's going on in our books, but then also that money is emotional. And that, we have emotions, a lot of emotions that get triggered with it. And I imagine there's probably a lot of shame that people have regarding maybe it's whether it's the money itself or not feeling like they understand what's going on in their business.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of shame. There's a lot of embarrassment. But I mean, as you well know, Carol, I share my story of somebody who knows what to do with the money in their business. And I still managed to get myself into $100,000 worth of debt. So I understand, because I knew what to do. While I was spending this money, I was like literally out of control. And I knew when I was spending it that I shouldn't be doing this, but I continued to do it anyways, right? So definitely I held on to a lot of shame. But when I came out the other end and I had to start dealing with the fact that I had blown through all this money and make amends and, all sorts of things that came with it, what I really wanted to focus on too was how I allowed myself to do that. Well, how did I allow myself to get there? And that's where I realized there's so many emotions that's tied to money. We tie money to our self-worth. We tie it to our identity, our social status. We tie it to our security. We tie it to, just how we feel about ourselves. And understanding and letting go of that control that money has over you and start seeing it as what it is, and it's a tool, is the way to manage your money. However, so many of us get caught up in the emotion of it, right? So if we're short on money, it's panic, it's failure, it's fear, there's so many emotions. If we've got a lot of money, it's celebration, it's joy, it's, and it's like we're using money as a barometer of happiness, and that's just not the way it should be going. So when people come to me, they often appreciate the fact that I've been there and I know what it's like to have screwed up and gotten myself out of it.
And I think that's what makes you so relatable, Melissa, because you do have this, accounting degrees, this, long experience as an accountant, as a CPA. And so for a lot of people, they would think, oh, Melissa wouldn't understand me. She's not going to understand like my how I'm feeling about my finances or my money. But because you put it out there in all sorts of very public ways, and we have this one section in your talk where like we sort of add humor. And I think there's this line about how like your mom wanted you to be famous, but not maybe in this way.
Yeah, the poster child for financial infidelity. She's mortified by that.
Right, yeah, exactly. But I think, not only as an entrepreneur who's helping your own clients, but as a speaker, and I also know you have your own podcast and you've shared the story on your own podcast. As a speaker, being able to, to talk to the audience and be like, I've been there, and and they can relate, and they feel like they're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. And it just feels more comforting because you're dealing with another human that you can relate with.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We know as public speakers and as podcast hosts too, how important storytelling is in the work that we do to have the sense of connection and relatability to our audience. So I feel like the more of us who do talk openly about, our money stories, money mindset, money beliefs, I think that it helps so many of us kind of realize, again, this idea that we're not alone and that we're not unusual. Like we're not the only ones experiencing these things.
Yeah, right. Because like money is such a taboo topic. People just aren't talking about it. Yet you look at the statistics of consumer debt and household debt, and it's so high. So logically that you're not alone, but if people aren't talking about it, it feels very isolating.
Yeah, I like, how you're not supposed to talk about money, politics, and religion, and with with private, I talk politics all the time, and I'm happy to talk money. And I don't know, religion doesn't have much, not religious, so I don't really have that much to say about that particular topic. But I'm so willing to go there. And this is one of the things that I appreciate about the groups that we run here at Speaking Your Brand, like the Thought Leader Academy that you're in, is that I encourage the women in it to share what they're proposing for speaking fees and training packages, and we share in the program what we have charged for our speaking engagements and for corporate trainings that we have done, because I feel it's the same thing with employees sharing salaries with each other. If you don't know what people are charging, then oftentimes, number one, you could be undercharging and leaving money on the table. But then number two, you see what's possible for yourself that otherwise you have no idea.
Yeah. And I love the seeing what's possible, right? Because, it gives you a goal to work towards.
All right, Melissa. So you are putting yourself out as a public speaker. You also have a book coming out in the spring of 2023. Can you tell us a little about that?
May 16th, 2023, Cash Confident. I think it's going to be called. I mean, it's not 100% right until it gets published, but Cash Confident, the financial guide to entrepreneur success.
Ooh, okay. So I love, of course, the alliteration with the Cash Confident.
Yeah.
And all right. So then why did you decide that you wanted to put yourself out there as a speaker? And then kind of, along with that, why did you decide that you wanted to work with us in the Thought Leader Academy?
I mean, it really comes down to like me wanting to be a speaker and also as an author as well. It comes down to me being so passionate about helping others understand business financial literacy that I wanted to go through as many mediums as I could to get my message out there. And certainly writing a book and having speaking opportunities are really helpful to talk with people and engage and get the stories and just help them be better business owners. Because, like we're talking about money topics, very taboo. And there's not, you could find business coaches that are talking about marketing and sales and branding and, what have you, but it's very rare to find somebody who's talking about how to manage the money. So I really want to get that message out there. And as much as speaking really horrified me at the beginning, right? I'm ready to embrace it.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, because I know that writing tends to be the channel that you do a lot of, in addition to, like I said, hosting your own podcast, because you write for Forbes as a contributor and you publish an article every week there, correct?
Yeah, at least one, usually 2 a week.
Yeah, so you do a lot of writing. So and you're a great writer. So I feel like that's probably your comfort zone is in writing.
It's definitely my comfort zone, yes. So to get up in front of a stage or on a stage in front of people, the idea is very intimidating to me, but, I still embrace it because, I want to help. I just think about others that I'm helping and not think about how I feel about the situation. Because if I did, then I would just be like, okay, I'm leaving, goodbye. So I love your program because it helps me with confidence, and I feel so much just more secure about putting myself out there and feeling like I have the tools to do it.
Okay, so since you mentioned about the Thought Leader Academy, so you've been in it now. Actually, you're going to be graduating at the time of this recording in just a couple of weeks.
It's gone by so quickly.
Well, this whole year has already gone by so quickly because we're recording this in mid-April. And so going into the Thought Leader Academy in January when you first started, and then thinking about where you are today, like, what did you expect? And then was it similar or different going through it?
I really didn't know what to expect, but it was definitely better than what I was expecting, if that makes any sense, right? Like when I first started, I was like, I know I want to speak. I have absolutely no idea how to speak. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I hear about these keynote sessions and I'm like, I have no idea what I could offer to those. I could do training. I knew that because I run workshops and I speak to people already, but getting into that keynote speaking is definitely foreign territory to me. So when I started not having a clue if I really had any value to offer people, and coming out at what I think we just finished week 14, I feel like, yes, I have things to offer. I have a clear idea of what I want to talk about. I have confidence that I can do this. I have confidence I can put myself on a stage and get through a talk and feel relaxed and feel like I'm connecting with an audience. And it's because, every week we talk about new tips and tricks and tools, and it really helps me feel prepared for what's about to come.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And especially as someone who, you didn't have an extensive speaking experience prior to coming into the program. Like some of the women who come in have done quite a bit of speaking, obviously mostly virtual in the past 2 years, but in person before then, and then want to get clarity on their message or work on a new signature talk. But you didn't have a lot of prior speaking experience.
No, I didn't. I had my podcast and my training sessions, and literally I'd only been doing that for a year. So, but I'm also the kind of person who really wants to make sure that I'm prepared before I do it. So I get, all my preparation materials so I know what to expect when I go in, and then I'll be working on, improving my speaking abilities.
Spoken like a true accountant.
I hate surprises.
Yeah, I am literally the opposite. Like me in preparation, I just learn and do on the fly. So that's why I'm not an accountant.
But that's awesome. Like I respect you for that because, I have to, study and prepare.
Oh, that's great. Well, and Melissa, I so enjoy working with you on your signature talk. For those of you listening to the podcast, obviously you can't see this, but we do have the video embed of our conversation on the show notes page of the podcast. And I'm going to kind of just show very quickly, here's Melissa's poster board with all the Post-it notes on it of her talk from beginning to end. And it's so fun because she has her own stories in there. She has some client examples, lots of audience questions and audience kind of reflection and things for them to think about. And of course, her main lessons that she's sharing with the audience and, her big takeaways. And then also those fun cultural references. Like we talked about, there are so many celebrities whose business managers have stolen millions of dollars from them.
Yes. And people don't hear about these stories. And, that's the thing, right? Those are the stories I like to tell too, because one of the things or messages that I really like to get out to people is don't give your financial control away. So even if you have hired somebody to help you, don't let them run amok and not supervise what they're doing, right? You need to understand what's going on in your business and your finances so that when you are making decisions, you're making informed decisions. So it's so important. But I do have to, since you mentioned the board and the talk we put together, I do have to toot your horn, Carol, because I remember going into that session thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. And some people who are listening may think, well, she's a writer, she should have a pretty good idea of what she's going to talk about. But it's very different when you're when you're coming up with a speech versus coming up with an article, right? So when I went through that day with you, I was absolutely blown away with what you helped me create. It was really amazing. And I'm so excited about this speech that you did most of the work on. You helped me create, and I love it.
Well, I say that I just ask you a whole bunch of questions because I know what information I need to get out of you. And then I'm just there to kind of like see it and organize it and put it together in our structure so that it makes sense to you, but it ultimately makes sense to the audience. Because I kind of put myself in the audience's shoes. Like, what does the audience need to understand about whatever your topic is? Like, what do they want to hear that's going to get them on board with your idea and have them think, oh, yes, like I want this too.
Well, you do an amazing job. I'm still blown away by the work that you do. It is impressive.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Melissa. I so appreciate that. And I've enjoyed having you in the Thought Leader Academy.
Thank you.
And can you please let the listeners know where or the name of your podcast so they can go right now as we're talking to go subscribe to that?
Yeah. So my podcast is The Business Society, and you can find it pretty much anywhere where you can find podcasts.
So the Business Society will make sure to have people go there. And also, Melissa, tell us where they can connect with you on your website. And also, I know you are on all the social media platforms, but I mostly hang out on LinkedIn, and I know I see you on LinkedIn quite a bit. Yeah. So definitely go find Melissa on LinkedIn at Melissa Houston, and then tell us your website address.
Yeah, so my website address is melissahoustoncpa.com, and if you go there, you can download the free 5-step roadmap to biz finance freedom, and that shows you as a CEO what you need to be thinking about when it comes to manage the money in your business. And then on social media, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and you can follow me at Melissa Houston CPA. So there's really a theme there, right? At Melissa Houston CPA everywhere.
Yes. Definitely a +1 for the consistency there. Oh, and I also want to give a plug that you and 2 of your fellow Forbes contributors did a fantastic master class that I attended. I think this was back in February about how to get featured in top tier media. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And if you're running that class again?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. Absolutely. So we actually just created a new Facebook group. We're assembling people, creating a community, and starting May 3rd, we're going to start some free strategy sessions every week. So please join us there. It's called Insights to the Media Room. And there's Dr. Cheryl Robinson, Stephanie Burns, and myself who lead the community.
Okay, great. And so then we'll make sure to include a link to that in the show notes so people can grab that. That's exciting.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun because we love to, teach people how to get that free publicity and visibility for your business. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I know that. So I've been in Forbes twice, and you just were so kind to do an article about me and thought leadership. And then I had another one at the end of 2019 about women needing to get paid to speak as much as the men do. And I must say that we always get leads, and then leads that turn into clients from those articles in Forbes, because having that top tier media like Forbes is such a great credibility builder.
Absolutely. And, it's so important to get your work out because you do amazing work for women.
Oh, well, thank you, Melissa. Well, likewise. And so I'm so glad that we got to know each other. And thank you so much for being part of our community and for coming on the Speaking Your Brand podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a fun talk.
Thanks again to Melissa for coming on the podcast. Don't forget to go to her website to get that checklist that she mentioned. Is at melissahoustoncpa.com, and to make sure to check out her podcast called The Business Society. If, like Melissa, you want to develop your speaking skills and create your signature talk, as well as your speaking fees and your visibility strategy for speaking, our Thought Leader Academy is the place for you. We help women entrepreneurs to develop their thought leadership platforms, get clarity on their ideas, and put themselves out there as speakers, including paid speakers. You can get all the details, including pricing, and submit your application for our Thought Leader Academy by going to speakingyourbrand.com/academy. Again, that's speakingyourbrand.com/academy. Until next time, thanks for listening.